Merry Christmas and happy holidays. Today, I want to bring you the gift of ideas. Don't underestimate the power of an idea. Ideas have the power to change the trajectory of your life, the course of your life in unimaginable ways. It can be night and day difference between having good ideas and bad ideas and how that transforms and materializes into your life. So, without further ado, let's get into the meat of the topic. Idea number one: reduce the time between ideation and execution. What does that mean? Well, in the creative sense, for a lot of us, we tend to live up here without recognizing that that's just fluff. And we have these big brain ideas, but those ideas never end up being materialized. We never execute on those ideas because we want time so that that idea can mature into fine wine, right? Wrong. Well, oftentimes that's the case because if you're not constantly executing what you had as an idea and materializing that into the real world, then you're not in the practice of making something out there. You're not in the practice of bringing life into the things that you are thinking about. It tends to just exist up here, and that's about it. And that's not a good way to live, is it? Especially if you're trying to create art, if you're trying to bring forth your artistic vision into the world and change it for better. Always practice what it's like to have an idea and then bring that and materialize that as quickly as possible as you can, and keep refining on that process further and further and further so that you can churn out and materialize things into the world. Only when things are materialized do you reap benefits from it. Idea number two: being open minded is more valuable than being right. You heard me. Open mindedness, radical open mindedness, has transformed the trajectory of my life. You see, I lived in a very sheltered household where I was not exposed to as many things, um, in the sense that I knew that the word superstition existed in the dictionary, but I never saw that being materialized in the real world until I came to India 5 years ago and started living here. And then I started to understand that there are so many facets of being that I was first in denial about because I was like, this is not what I was used to at all. And this seems very foreign to me. This seems like a very strange thing. And I'm not sure how much bearing this has over my life. And while it's important to be cautious doing this work, being open minded, it's important that we do it because it opens up different avenues for you that you once thought impossible. And you start embracing those possibilities and you understand the ground that people have when it comes to superstitions. And for the sake of learning the mechanics of how that works, I think it's very important. And if you say that, like, okay, what if I'm so open minded and I get stuck up in one of these conspiracies, like flat Earth, for example, what then? Well, you you see, the thing is, flat earthers are actually some of the most close minded people on earth. It's your ability to take different shoes and wear different hats that brings about this sort of ever flowing nature of being that you must embrace. Concept slash idea number three is that appearances can be deceiving. Appearances can be very deceptive. They are a force that we've come to very heavily rely on, and for good reason. I mean, for most part, we know who to trust and who not to trust based on how people carry themselves and the appearance, the front that they put forth. But it's important to be cautious as well. You see, nature relies on being trickster to sustain itself. Are you guys familiar with how a fox hunts? When a fox hunts, it hunts in this very unique, interesting way. You see, when a fox finds a prey, it'll approach the prey by sort of like pouncing and, being giddy and just being in a more playful nature. And then the cat or the bunny or whatever finds that the fox is in a playful nature and finds that it can trust it more and more and more. And the fox approaches it slowly, 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 inching closer towards its prey. And the prey, not knowing any better, trusts the fox and starts moving towards the fox as well. And then when it's within leaping distance, the fox jumps and cracks open the cat's skull. Do not take appearances for its fake face value because they are often fake. Idea number five. Four. Idea number four. Balance is often asymmetrical. Balance does not mean that you split something down the middle. Balance often lies in extremes when it comes to our day to day engagement. It's difficult to point fingers at where that balance might lie because it depends according to people, and it varies from person to person. But it's never, oftentimes, never down the middle. Balance is supposed to be well struck, right? And the best example of balance is one that nature can teach us when it comes to designing stuff. For example, designing this body. I was not responsible of doing any of it. The universe kind of gave it to me, and I'm sort of coasting nicely through this body. And the body is in charge of regulating most of the functions. Like, I'm not conscious of my breathing. Now I am because I've mentioned it. I'm not conscious of my heartbeat. I'm not conscious of the blood that's flowing through my body. There are facets of my existence that I'm not aware of at all, and yet I'm here. Yet there is balance struck perfectly within my body, and that's why I'm able to talk to you guys. But this balance is often not symmetrical, and this balance needs a little bit of tending. I can't put anything and everything that I please into my body that make it toxic. Balance needs to be struck, and it needs to be struck well. And you need to know where to strike that balance because it's very counterintuitive. You think that it's always down the middle where you can just hold a piece of wood like this and then it just balances. But oftentimes the weight of the wood is not uniform. So you have to shift a little bit so that you can compensate for the irregularities. Idea number five. The path of least resistance is a recipe for a mediocre life. This one is very difficult to digest, especially as you're navigating through your youth, because easy temptations are very easy to come by, and they are very tempting to just grab in terms of how it's presented to you. You know, unfortunately, a lot of people are sellouts. A lot of people don't confide within themselves and stay true to their authenticity. You can see that being plagued everywhere, especially with girls and the temptation to go into something, a platform like OnlyFans. You know, I hate to bring up this example, but it's one that visually is very visceral. Like you can feel it in the sense that if a girl is attractive enough and she has a need for financial stability, it's become norm to just internet meme themselves as, oh, if this doesn't work out, I'll just go to OnlyFans and sell feed pictures or whatever. And then they get roped into that. Hopefully not, but some do. And they set up a profile, and then they have a surplus of money coming in the first 2 or 3 months, and life is good. And then they live above their means. And then the people that subscribe kind of leave comments saying that, hey, this is not worth it. Like, she's not showing all that much. And then they get trapped in the cycle of pleasing the most degenerate guys, and they can't step outside now because they're at risk, they're vulnerable. They've exposed a side of them that the world can now see, and it might be those degenerate men that they come across in the street. Like they just can't face going out anymore, and that is the unfortunate situation of going for that easy prize, that slice of cake that you don't deserve. It takes a lot of resistance to achieve the life that you want. And for a lot of people that watch content like this, I know that you guys are dreaming of more. And so we must always strive to do more. And idea 6 is piggybacking off of it, because morality cannot be a formula. That's idea number 6. Idea number 6 is that the world is not made of right and wrong. The world is actually made of true and false. When I brought about the example of the OnlyFans girl, that was me inflicting my morality on what they should and shouldn't do. But there's nothing right or wrong about it. There's only a case to be made as to what is true and false. I'm not here to prophesize and to sort of demean people that do it. People have different lives, people are having different needs. So I'm not here to judge and to condemn and to criticize. I'm just saying what is actually true. I am just shining a little bit of light into the truth of the situation. So stop moralizing. You can't get morality from something like the 10 Commandments. It's just not possible. You can't receive integrity out of that morality because you're not acting out of the best faith. You're just following a templatized format, and life is way more nuanced than templatized formats to live through. It's a good guidepost. I'm not denying that, but it should not be the basis upon which you found your entire fucking morality. That's not how it works. Idea slash concept number 7: what you resist persists. You see, a lot of us, we shun away the things that we don't like and we sweep it under the rug. We don't pay attention to them and we don't address those that require our attention, you know. I've always been a jealous guy when it comes to the girls in my life, where I get this overwhelming sense of protectiveness and I want to shelter the girls around me from other guys, from potential threats. And I kept bottling up those jealousy and that negative emotion. And like when you resist those emotions and you don't express them in the right way, and by right way, I don't mean shout at people or like express it in this very what do I say for it? Just like in a very like way, you know, don't do that, but learn to accept and to deal with it in a healthy manner. Because when you don't do that and when you sweep it under the rug, well, the dust is still there. You know, whatever you're sweeping under the rug is still there and it accumulates and it bottles up. And the energy that you pay attention to, that the vibrations that amplifies, and that leads to a lot of problems. You end up locking yourself up in this mental prison and you are torturing yourself because you're not able to deal with all of these negative emotions in a healthy fashion. So let go. Notice that anger has come. Notice that jealousy has come up and let that go. It's a very fine distinction to make when it comes to letting go and when it comes to suppressing it. Because suppressing it is like, it's there, but like, fuck it. I'm just like not pay attention to it. But letting go is releasing that tension, is letting that leave your body, is noticing how settled your body becomes. Let go. Don't bottle stuff up. Concept number 8. And this is one of my favorites. The map is not the territory. You see, we often make the mistake of using the map and perceiving that to be the territory. And what I mean by that is symbolized ways of going about the world is how we know and perceive the world. You see, the map acts as a sort of reference point upon which you draw to navigate through spaces. But it's not the space. A map includes certain features of the territory but omits certain other features. A subway map is very good for navigating through the subway, but it's not the actual subway itself and it's not representative of the whole picture. A subway is part of a network system that lies beneath the city. The city is above and it has roads, and that's a little bit more of an abstract example, but a perfect way to sum this up would be to say that tree When I say that word tree, what comes into your mind? You have a thought of a tree. But tree is not a tree. It's what I use to represent a tree, and that's what you understand me with. And here's the thing, I can use symbols to do anything. Language is the symbol, is the symbol sort of attitude that we uh, take towards reality because it makes reality so much more simplistic. Ask yourself what a simple symbol is, because a symbol is this very remarkable, fascinating thing, because a symbol is something that represents the object, but the symbol is not what the object is. It's something that we use to represent. So never mistake the map for the territory. Always understand that maps of reality, what we have up in our head, is not often reality. Because you can place two very different individuals in the same fucking scenario, in the same room, and they will perceive that instance, that situation, completely different. If you place a confident guy and an insecure guy at the club, the confident guy is gonna use that as an opportunity to network, have fun with friends, get a bunch of girls, possibly even take one home. But the insecure guy is just gonna be stuck up in his head and it's not gonna perceive that as an opportunity to do any of those. Reality is massively different for massively different people. And the reason why that is because we often mistake the map to be the territory, when in fact the territory is just this thing, but it's not the map that we have. Idea number 9. And this is something that I had to reconcile quite difficultly, if that's even a word. It took me a lot of time to process this because I was in denial. And that is, evil is ignorance. That you are the devil. That the devil is not a force that's acting out there, but the devil is within you. You are the most evil motherfucker of them all. There's nobody else out there that's more evil than you. Why do I say that? And how can I make that bold fucking claim? Well, I like my tech. I really do. I love the latest and greatest when it comes to technology. And I used to be a consumerist where it didn't matter as long as I got my shit. But then I started to ask myself questions as to where all of this came from. And that led me to this very shocking revelation. And I just didn't know how to process all of that healthily until I reconciled with this. Because you see, this is an iPhone 12 Pro. I got this when it first released. And I'm not the kind of person that like goes out and buys a new phone every year that a new one is released. But there are people like that, right? You probably have a friend like that if you are not yourself one like that. Well, where did this phone come from? It came from Chinese factories where these workers are underpaid, way below minimum wage. They don't have good mental health. They're just stuck doing repetitive work that is soul draining, and they have to keep fucking nets at the stairwell so that people don't just fucking jump and take their own life. The things that you possess and your survival in general all stemmed from massive evil. And I'm not saying what you should do or what you shouldn't do with this information. I'm simply listing out what is true. Turn a blind side to it, but that's exactly what evil is ignorance. I'm not saying what you should do and what you shouldn't do. I'm just illustrating the mechanics behind your survival. And if that triggers you and if that upsets you, well, you know that I'm not the person to be mad at. Is you have to do the work to get around and reconcile with this. And last but not least, everything in the universe is connected to everything else. You can't pick apart one thing without including everything else. And that is the sort of awakening. That is the kind of realization that makes you appreciate everything that life has to offer and know that you are responsible for everything. The parts of reality that you don't like and are in denial with can't be separate from you. Those are just fragmented parts of your own psyche. And it's you that needs to heal it. You can't exclude that and demonize that and push that away as if it's not your job. You need to be mindful of how your actions reverberate through the holarchic tapestry of life, of existence. And this requires you to reconcile with evil. You see, all of these points that I've talked about can't exist as independent of each other. Everything culminates together, and that's what makes it so robust. That's what makes it complete and concrete, and that's what gives it the sort of zest. That's what gives life meaning. Understand and recognize that your existence is a very selfish activity. It's incredibly selfish that this vessel that you've contained yourself in needs upkeep, and that upkeep has to come from other sources where you have to deny a certain bit of energy to everything else in order to maintain this form, this shape. And so, when doing that, it's important that we don't disassociate from the system that keeps us alive, because the minute we do that is the minute we actually perish. Over the course of the last year, I've sort of dived headfirst, took a leap of faith, not knowing what the outcome was with philosophy. And these were the most powerful 10 ideas that I was able to accumulate and sort of embody and practice on my day to day experience. And it's given me the results that I want. And I hope that I can give you the results that you want as well. When you move forward to 2025 and beyond, accept and embody transcendental ideas that encompass teachings of the old and carry that forward and let go of some of the anchors of that teaching and bring that forth and transform that and transcend that into something else, which is what I've been doing. People ask me like, why do you why is it that you're saying that the 10 commandments can't be a formula? Because the 10 commandments is in a way a very good anchor for a lot of people to base their actions upon. And while that is true and I don't disagree with that, I also feel like it's very important that we recognize this and we work towards incorporating and bringing about the best of that into a higher state where you're not guilt tripping yourself. You can't get integrity by following rules because life is a little bit more nuanced than that. And with that being said, it's time to wrap for the year. Philly Wonka is out. See you 2025. Take care. Peace.